Okay. Whew. Okay, guys, give me a minute here. All right, let me light some incense. I'm almost out of my favorite incense. I have a whole nother big, huge thing around here someplace. I gotta find it. I lost it. Hey, Jojo, you haven't seen my, never mind, he can't hear. Never mind. Sorry. You can't hear me. Hi, Willow. Hi, Stephen, Tange, Bosette, Madwitch. Hi. How's everyone today? I hope a bit less busy than me. It's been a little crazy. Okay. Incense is lit. Which I have to do to calm my space. Okay, hold on. Live chat. That's what I want up here. Live chat. Tired. My cat kept me on most of the night. Uh-oh. I hope it's nothing serious. Just a pain in the butt cat. Hold on. Top chat. No. I don't know why it defaults to top chat. I hate that. I wish it would default to live chat because that's what we want. Okay. Donna made it. Hello. All right. So I'm really excited about finally getting to the discussion here of the part 1 so that I can continue on and read the part 2 part. Oops, look, bra strap. Bra strap. Wait, where is it? There it is. I like this shirt, but I have to tighten my bra straps, apparently. Okay. Not that all of you need to know that or want to hear that. I know. Okay. That's all right. I just had an admin chat with everyone and my admin in a towel, so this is much better. All right. Let's see. What do we have here? Hi, Michelle. Tar Apple, Tan. Bosette, thank you. Tan, this is the shirt I just got at Savers yesterday. I washed it real quick so I could wear it today, and it's so me. Look at it. It's like big and flowy, and I love it. Hi from Denmark. I love my Denmark. I have ancestry from Denmark, so I say I'm a Celtic Druid Viking because I have ancestry from Denmark, Ireland, and England, mostly. So I love my Denmark peoples. All right, so I have to say, really, I am psyched about being able to discuss the first part of The Alchemist. Hi, Kelsey. Because I can't wait to get to the second part and to finish the book so we can really discuss openly in the group about, our spiritual journey. And that's why I wanted to discuss this book so much. After your live, I need to talk to you on Instagram. No problem, Justin. I have seen your request, honey. I'm sorry. I have to tell you, it's been a crazy morning. So I apologize that I couldn't get back to you. It's been a little nuts this morning, so I'm sorry. Yes, I thought so too. And I think this book, on a spiritual level for all people who, believe in some higher power and some connection with the universe, I think this is an important book. And I think it's a book that will kind of help raise all of our spiritual awareness. And I'm really excited to be able to finish the second part and really discuss like the whole thing as a whole. There's much more about personal legend and, what that means for each of us and how we get there and what the path looks like and why that path is different for all of us. And there's so much. So I really wanted to get this first part out of the way So this week, my guess is, now I will tell you again, just to be perfectly transparent here. This is the week that I previously was saying was my hell week, because it is, hi Raquel, hi Jack, hi Lori, and Mademoiselle Asphodel, and Kelsey, in case I missed you, and Louise, and Ellen, hi. In case I haven't said, I previously referred to this coming up week as Hell Week, because it's my week at the main office, which you all know I just love. Hi, Energize, welcome. But I'm trying to go in with a much better attitude this week and just say I'm probably going to be a little less available this week because it's my week at the main office, but I'm trying to go in with a really good positive attitude of, you know what, it's going to be fine. I'm going to make myself have a great week there too. I think that my attitude made it, worse, because if I go into work like, God, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. It makes it worse. It makes it worse every time. So I'm going to try really hard to change my attitude and kind of almost as an experiment to see, is it better? Can I make myself have a good week even though I'm at the main office? So that's a good thing for me to do. Hi, Kathy and Bonnie. Yay. Oh, good. You ordered the book. Okay. So we're going to start out talking about what happened. We're going to review just a little bit what happened in part 1. So I have my notes here. See, Raquel, I know it. And I'm going to try to do this as an experiment. And I'm really hoping that I don't have a hell week. Because I do, and I have to admit that inside I'm like, oh, but I'm like, nope. I'm going to have a good week. I know ahead of time that there's part of it is I like to have enough time to do what I do with all of you. And sometimes that's a discussion for tonight. I'm going to have partly a discussion tonight about, so you guys are aware of some of the things that I do on a daily basis for the group that, maybe people aren't aware of. Because I feel bad sometimes. I get messages from people and it takes me a while to respond. Or like I say, I'm going to do something and I don't always get back to it and stuff. And so I just figured I'd just make you aware. So hopefully you understand and can at least say, if I don't get back to you sometimes, can at least say, oh, you know what? Jen might have had one of those weeks that she had 20 people messaging her about stuff and all that. So anyways, we'll talk about that later. So the good thing here, let me go back. Yay. I'll be right back in a few minutes. Got to go get back to my dorm. Okay, no problem, Willow. Listen to your first installment yesterday. Really enjoyed it. Good. Setting intention on how you want something to be or go is everything. Exactly. So I'm really going to try hard this week. All right, so let's just kind of summarize a little bit what we found when we first opened up the book. Hold on. Now I need my glasses cleaner, darn it. Because my hair is half wet and it fogged up my glasses. All right, so when we first opened up the book, we meet Santiago, right? So he is a resident of Spain, Andalusia. He is a shepherd who has a herd of sheep. And so when you're a shepherd in Spain in this time, you kind of, hi Janice. It's funny to me to look at the first difference that we see is in today's time, every bit of land is owned, right? So shepherds today are a lot different than shepherds used to be. Because in this time, Santiago is taking his sheep across Andalusia to not only find them places to feed along the way, but he also is taking them to sell the wool. So he has to go a long ways to take his sheep to sell the wool. Hi, Lisa. And it's a lot different. So today, every piece of land is owned by someone. It's not like you can just kind of wander across the land having your herd of sheep feed off of stuff on the way, because the landowners would get pissed today, right? They'd be like, hey, you're eating my stuff that I have set aside for my sheep or my whatever, just for me. So it's a very different prospect from what we used to see before. And it's something that is kind of foreign to us right off the bat. I mean, we've read about it, but it's very different than it would be today. Hi, honey. So that's the first difference right off the bat is, the life of a shepherd to begin with back then is very different from what we're used to. We just don't see that anymore. And we saw, at least in America, we saw sometimes the landowners in Texas. I know they had a big deal about every time I don't know, I try to be nice because not all Texan people, I'm not saying that. But some of the landowners in Texas have a fit like when the wolves are on their land and stuff. And I understand that they kill some of their livestock and stuff like that. But the wolves were there first. And they have a fit when the buffalo go through and they, destroy their fencing and stuff like that. So it's a very different time today than it would have been back then. So that's the first thing is it's a different kind of lifestyle. And what we find out is that Santiago, first he wakes up in an abandoned church. He gathers up all his sheep, wakes up the rest of the sheep that, haven't been awake. He has a dream. He has a dream, and he woke up before it was over. He notices little things like his sheep wake up around the same, most of his sheep wake up around the same time that he does. So they kind of know each other. They have a schedule. They feel each other's company, right? And we know that if you've ever been there's several different ways this can happen. Sometimes when you're at college and you have a roommate and you get used to your roommate's schedule and you and your roommate feel each other out and she's waking up for her morning class, blah, blah, blah. If you're a mother and you have children, it's the same thing. You're waking up, if your kids start stirring before it's time for you to be up, you're like, okay, what are they doing? What are they getting into? Or they, whatever. Hi, Two-Pass. Hi, Paris. So you start to become aware of either the people you're in charge of or the people that you're living with, their schedule, and you start to understand their schedule, and your schedules start to sync up, kind of, right? Your cat wakes you up before your alarm, right? Mademoiselle Asphodel, that's okay, honey. You go get some rest then. It's all right. It'll be here. You can catch up, afterwards. No problem. So that is another thing is that he's realizing that he has a connection with his sheep, that he's able to feel them out. And he knows there's a couple certain sheep that he has figured out he has to go and stir them, make sure they're keeping up with everyone because they're a little lazier, a little slower, all that kind of stuff. So he has his connection with his community. Sometimes he reads aloud to his sheep. He talks to them. They become his community. For the past few days, he's talked to them about one thing only. Hold on, let's see. My daughter was pregnant the first time, and I knew she was, even though I was in South Carolina and she was in Montana. Those connections never die. There you go. Absolutely. And I've had instances where I know, like one of my sons is deeply upset or something's not quite right or so, mothers, we do have a connection to our kids that it never leaves. I've heard, the horror stories too, where a mother knows if something has gone drastically wrong with their child and that kind of thing too. That connection is always there. So Santiago is only, at this point, he's only talking to them about the daughter of the merchant, right? He's met this daughter of the merchant the year before and has worked all year to get back to this daughter because he feels like this is the one for him. He's in love with her. He wants to spend his life with her. He's thinking about asking her to spend time with him. He's talking to his sheep about this. This is his community. He remembers what happened the year before. The shop was so busy that the merchant said, you're going to have to wait till towards the end of the day. So he waited, and that's when he met her. And she asked him about his reading and was surprised that he could read. He said he learned in school. seminary school. So Santiago was in seminary school, which back then either was, like a Catholic priesthood or some kind of Christian missionary school. And he decided that he wanted to travel, and that wasn't going to happen for him if he stayed in the seminary school. So the only thing he could think of to travel was, or was it his dad? Somebody told him that he should become a shepherd, and then he could travel across the land. So he talked to her about his travels, and he wished he could give up traveling and stay with her in the village, right? So a year later, for a year, he's been thinking about this girl. She made quite an impression on him. And he's been excited and kind of planning. And he's kind of primped himself all year and tested himself with his sheep and really thought about, for a whole year, his plan has been how I'm going to get back to this girl so I can talk to her some more, so I can, make her see that maybe I have the kind of life that she would want to be a part of. And so for a year, he's been planning this. That's a long time, a year, especially in a young person's life. We know, that time does not quite go as fast when we get older. As slow, let me reverse that. Time goes much faster the older we get. So a year, it seems like forever sometimes. Hi, Lisa. And hi, Johnny Dragon, I missed you. And so he's been planning this for a year. It's a really big deal for him. He reflects on his sheep as he travels. The sheep, he thinks they're kind of stupid, right? They only worry about water and food, and they don't really, at this point, sheep don't really know how to fend for themselves. He thinks I'm the one that makes sure they have food and water, and without me, they wouldn't do very well. He thinks that if he suddenly became a monster and decided to kill his sheep, they would be surprised because they wouldn't expect it, because he feels their love back. He loves his sheep. He takes care of them. They've become a community. And he thinks they would not expect it. If he suddenly was to become a monster, they would be very surprised. And then he's like, why am I thinking this? This is so weird that I would think that, and he thinks, well, maybe it's because my dream. Maybe I'm just thinking that because of my dream. He has a jacket, which keeps him warm. Although at the height of the day, yeah, they trust him, exactly. At the height of the day, the jacket is, it's hot, and he has to carry it. He's like, do I really need this? But he remembers, okay, I have this jacket for a reason, because at night it gets really cold. It gives him, his book. He's thankful for his book. It gives him a pillow, something to lay his head on. So, like the jacket, Santiago, he has a purpose to his existence. He believes his purpose is to travel, and he has spent 2 years now exploring the Andalusian terrain. So for 2 years, this has been his life. He has been a shepherd for 2 years. He has formed community with the sheep. He has traveled around Andalusia, looking for food and water for his sheep. So for 2 years, this is what he's known. He's starting to become a little restless, though. And you can tell because he's starting to dream about other stuff. They are his world, and he is their world. Exactly. He learned to read because he attended a seminary until he was 16, because his parents wanted him to become a priest. So we all know that that expectation of our parents, our parents, and when you become a parent, it's funny how, for me, the expectations of my parents, although I have to say not so much my father, although I love my father, but my father was he was a fairly young hippie. My parents had me when they were 18. My mother was 18 and my father was 20. And they were both hippies. And my father never really grew out of that. I love him to death, but I accept him for who he is. And he wasn't the typical dad figure. He was kind of a friend. So less so his expectations. I was not ever really worried about his expectations because he accepted me for who I am, which is really good. And it sounds great to say, but looking backwards, and especially becoming a parent, looking backwards, I think I needed a dad. I didn't always need a friend. I always needed a dad. Now, I got that a lot in my grandfather. So you'll hear, if you ever hear me speak of my grandfather, he was my dad figure. He was always there for me. He always gave me advice. He was my dad figure. So at least I had that in my life. That's good. But it's hard to live up to the expectations of our parents. And we worry. And when we fail, we feel that. Not all for loss. Even though he didn't become a priest, he still has the skill of reading. Exactly, which is great. And especially in that time, you get the impression that not a lot of people know how to read. They are not very educated in this time, and you have to be a certain kind of person in order to have learned how to read. So it's a good thing. You needed someone to set the bar in a dad way. Exactly. And I'm grateful that I had that. As a parent, I saw, at first as a child, I saw my mother's expectations differently. Of course, as a child, you're looking at your parents' expectations and thinking, why do you want me to do what you didn't do or what you did do? Or, it's hard to live up to somebody else's expectations. I want you to just want me to be happy. Then as you become a parent, if you're a parent, you know that you... Hold on. Sorry, guys. Okay. So that was Maddie tried to break in and call. So I'm sorry. Stephen, can you do me a favor and just let Maddie know I'm live? And I'll get a hold of him as soon as I can. Whoops. I have do not disturb on there too, which I thought that meant if somebody tried to call, it wouldn't break into my video, but it didn't do that. Yeah, doesn't that affect the social stature of the time? Maybe later. Yes. Yep. Absolutely. So as a parent, we want more for our children than what we had. Always. No matter how you did as a child, no matter how successful or unsuccessful you feel, as a parent, we want our children to do better. We want our children to have more than we had, to have more opportunity than we had. So we see that expectation a little differently. When you finally become a parent, you suddenly go, oh, okay, I see that there is a reason for that expectation. That you, no matter how often they said it, you didn't really realize until you become a parent and you think, oh yeah, I want more. I want more for mine. So Santiago says to his parents, that's not what I want. I want to travel. And there isn't a whole lot of, they don't really explain very much of what their reaction was. I get the impression anyways that, Jen, you have to put airplane mode on with do not disturb, and together it keeps everything blocked. Thank you, Tanj. The things you have to do to not get a phone call, have it interrupt in the middle of what you're doing, drives me crazy. I've like put no notifications. I've done all this stuff. Something I did at one point made it so nobody could hear me on my video though. So now I have to be careful. Stink bug. Land, hurry up. Yuck. So you don't really get too much of an idea, although you get the impression that they may have been a little disappointed. But he still was able to decide he wanted to travel, and he does what he wants to do, which is a brave thing, especially when you think of back then. It must have been very difficult to not do what your parents wanted you to do, to venture out on your own. His parents weren't a shepherd, so I'm sure he had to kind of study up on it and figure out what had to be done, what kind of life it was, what he needed to do that, what kind of education he needed to do that. Not, necessarily school education, but did he know anything about sheep at the time? Did he have to learn what they needed and how to feed them and what they needed? I don't know. Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate it. So he does that and he sets out. So we meet him as he's on his way back after a year. And his goal at this point is getting back to this woman that he met, this girl that he met, and he's been thinking about her for a year. Yes. Santiago's father presents the obstacle of money. He says that among their people, the only ones who travel are shepherds. So that's what he decides to do. As he travels, he thinks back on the conversations he had with his father. It makes him happy. He's already seen so much. He's seen castles and met women, and he owns a jacket and a book and a flock of sheep. And these are part of living out his dream. So far, he's been living his dream. And how wonderful and brave to step out into his dream. None of his family had ever been shepherds before that we know of. And that's quite a brave thing to say, I'm going to do something totally different. But they let him choose his own path. So I imagine they wanted him to follow his heart. Exactly. Yep. And I get that impression too, that he obviously had the support of his family. His father was the one that told him that the only thing, he knows to travel is shepherd. So he suggests that, which is a great thing. It must be hard as a parent to say that specific job too, because a lot of your time is spent traveling. You're not going to see your child very much after that. Not an easy thing to recommend for your kid, but when you want them to be happy, you try to support them in every way you can. Okay, so what else? So then he remembers the next town. Right on. I'm preparing for a show next week. I'm a Middle Eastern dancer. Ooh, honey, that's cool. Do you have video of your dance, honey? I would love to see that. How cool. A Middle Eastern dance. I would love to see video of that, but I know people are shy sometimes. So he remembers that in the next town is Tarifa, and there's a fortune teller in this town. And he thinks she might be able to interpret his dream. So he decides when he gets to the town, he's going to visit the fortune teller, see if she can help him out in what this dream means. So he goes to the fortune teller. She leads him to a back room where she practices her craft, right? So I love this part because this is us, guys. Come on. As fortune tellers and tarot readers and stuff, I can totally picture this. Come on, I'll bring you back to the back room. Hi, Sue. How are you, sweetie? Glad you made it. So that I can totally picture, come on back. We'll go back to the back room and I'll tell you your fortunes. I'll read the cards. I'll take a look at my crystal ball for you. I'll interpret your dream. Right? I love specifically kind of represented in this way. Just not on your channel? Oh, well, if you wouldn't mind, PM me a link if you don't mind. I would love to see it. The room has a table, 2 chairs, and an image of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. So I always think, I wonder, the timing. I wonder what kind of fortune teller she is. Is she like a gypsy, a Romano gypsy? Is she a fortune teller who, and many times the Catholics loved to do fortune telling and go to fortune tellers and stuff. Some of our biggest clients when we did Psychic Saturdays in our spiritualist church. Does it say she was a gypsy? I can't remember. It might. Were the little Catholic ladies, they used to love and get their fortunes read and tarot cards read and all that kind of stuff. So it's funny to me that now it's frowned upon, but now a lot of the Catholics still do it. So the 2 sit down and the woman begins to pray. So whatever that means for her. To Santiago, it sounds like a gypsy prayer, so perhaps. Santiago has met gypsies in his travels, and he's heard that others do not trust gypsies. So yeah, it sounds like she's a gypsy. Rumors about gypsies say they make pacts with the devil and kidnap children. So we get those same kind of rumors, right? I can't tell you how many times in North Carolina. I swear not only the fact that we were pagan, which was bad enough, but we were also Yankee pagan, which was, now we got a double dose of those people. I think from his view, he was worried, right? Yeah, absolutely. He's kind of scared about this. The woman examines his hands. So she's palm reader. And his hands begin to shake. He says to the woman that he didn't come here for her to read his palm. He considers paying her and leaving without learning anything about the dream, but he really wants to know. Yeah, Yankee is worse, right? Absolutely, I know. The fortune teller says that she knows that Santiago came to learn about his dreams. She adds that dreams are the language of God, so when God speaks through a dream in our language, she can interpret it. But if he speaks the language of the soul, only the dreamer can understand it. So I take a minute and think about what that means, because that says something in our spiritual journey too. What she's saying is, there's a language that God has with all of us. And if it's the simple language that God uses with all of us, then she will be able to interpret it. If, though, he has his own connection with God, if his spirituality is such that he is specifically connected on his own web, soul speak, if the language is such that he's specifically connected on his own piece of web to spirit, to what he considers God, she may not be able to interpret it because it may only be for him alone. I always think, how come spirit, God, goddess, God's spirit itself, the universe, how come they can't just make it simple? Have one language that they tell us so that we know, aha, of course we know what you were trying to tell us. Wouldn't that make it easier? Sometimes you're like, just say it. Just say it. Just come down, stand in front of me, and tell me what the hell it is you're trying to tell me. But it doesn't work like that, ever. It doesn't work like that for most people. Sometimes we get signs that we do understand. Sometimes we really have to think about what it is the universe is trying to tell us. Sometimes we know, but we're ignoring it. Sometimes we hear that message and we're like, yeah, that's not really what you mean, because I'm not going to know what that means. I know what you're trying to tell me. They whisper instead of speaking out loud, right? And we want so much to hear the thing that we expect to hear or that we want them to be saying to us. Sometimes we really ignore the fact that they're trying to speak to us. They've sent us several signs and we're just kind of going, I don't know what that means. No idea. And I talk about sometimes my spirit guides want to kick me off the cliff. They bring me to the edge of the cliff and they're like, I know you get this. I'm going to drop your ass if you don't say that you get it. I know you do. So that's definitely something we can all relate to. If we ignore them, they smack us upside the head. I have been smacked several times by my spirit guides, who I know very often are ready to give up on me. Like, I know you know what I'm saying. You have to stop pretending you're ignoring it. Okay. So, but he takes a chance. He thinks, I have nothing to lose. I'm going to at least tell her what my dream was, right? So he says in his dream, it's filled with sheep and a child appears. The child plays with the sheep, but suddenly she takes Santiago by the hand and they are both transported to the Egyptian pyramids. He pauses. I'm going to, great. Okay, good. He pauses to see if the fortune... Back. Sorry. Lovely internet. I hope the wind is just starting to pick up here, so we'll see. I hope that it's not too bad tonight and I can come back tonight. Sometimes we have to reveal part of ourselves in order to reveal the answer. Oh, that's a good... Hold on, let me read the rest of that because that was good. Sometimes we have to reveal part of ourselves in order to reveal the answer. It's not just about getting a message. It's also about growth. So true. So true. That is a very good point, Stephen. And we have to be willing to do that. And that's part of the frustration sometimes. He is on his own journey, so his connection is different. Absolutely. Part of the frustration sometimes is what we want and what we're comfortable with. Sometimes what we're comfortable with is not growing. It's like, you know what? I feel safe and comfortable here. I don't want to grow anymore. Thanks, but no thanks. And our spirit guides and the goddess and the gods and God and however you see your spiritual connection is like, nope, sorry, you can't stay put anymore. I have more in mind for you. So there's some growth that has to happen here. And unfortunately, growth is not always easy. Growth very often comes with pain and frustration and suffering. And we don't always want to do that. We're like, nope, I'm good. I'm comfortable here. I know where I'm at. I don't wanna. So why a child as his guide? Is it an issue of innocence? That's a good question. What do you guys think? Why do you think that Spirit sent a child as his guide? I have my own thoughts, but I'll wait to see if you guys have any insight. And I don't know if I'm right. I would love to have Paulo Coelho. Wouldn't that be awesome if I said, matter of fact, maybe I'll email him. You never know. I mean, we could end up with this big study with Paulo Coelho himself. Wouldn't that be awesome? Like, oh, so Paulo, what exactly were you thinking about that? It's funny that we limit ourselves. I immediately, of course, thought, oh, not that he would ever do that. But maybe he would. I'll email him. What do I got to lose? Children embody purity and innocence and truth. Yes. Yes. I believe the child is easier for him to relate to and trust. Me too. Because we are more likely to listen to a child because they are less intimidating. Absolutely. Hi, Fairy Luna Wolf. Absolutely. If we see that child come up and say, hey, take my hand. I have something to show you. I think she said because people trust children without question. Right? If we see a child come up with their hand out and saying, hey, I want to show you something, we don't automatically go to suspicion, right? A lot of times if an adult says, here, I want to show you something, we're like, what? What is it? What do you want to show me? What? I don't trust you. I immediately am jaded in life and I think, what do you want? Do you want something from me? Where children, we think, oh, what, do you need help? Is there something that you need? I stepped away. I agree with these. Child, new beginning. Oh, for sure. Right? We talk about the fool as an innocent new beginning. And the child can put that anyways. Innocence. Yes. So we look at the child through much more open eyes than we would perhaps an adult. Any adult. A woman, a man, any adult. As a child, if a child comes to you and asks you a question, you're not immediately jaded. That's why, like they talk about people who use children to lure people away, or I think of, what was it, Oliver Twist and stuff, where they have like this gang of children that pickpocket and stuff. That's why they're so good at it, because we're not expecting that from a child. We automatically trust them because they're children. Good insights. Good. So at the Egyptian pyramids, he continues, if you come here, you will find treasure. Just as she is about to show Santiago the location of the treasure, he wakes up. So she's silent. Then she says she's not going to charge him anything, But if he finds his treasure, she wants 1/10. Heck, even the children nowadays with bombs strapped to them, right? Child can also mean naivete, which can be positive or negative. That's true, for sure. So she wants something out of it. She sees that it could be a bigger treasure at hand. And she might get more out of this if she says, hey, I'll tell you what, this is a freebie. But if you find your treasure, I want some of that. So she says, I want 1/10 of the total. My internet is going to be the bane of my existence. Sorry, guys. We back? Yes. Okay. Okay. So she says she wants 1/10. She says that he must swear that he will keep his promise and bring her payment. And he says, okay, fine. She asks him to swear again while looking at the Sacred Heart of Jesus, because she figures, all right, if he does that and he lies, he'll feel really bad about it. He might actually do it. So that she says the dream is the language of the world, so she can interpret it. She said he must go to the pyramids. There he will find a treasure that will make him a rich man. Well, that's pretty damn vague, right? It's not like she has some big insight to this dream. He's kind of like, yeah, no shit. And what else you got for me? I just gave you 1/10 of my treasure, and that's all you're going to say? If you go to the pyramids, you'll find a treasure? No, duh. He's pretty annoyed with her. He says he feels like he didn't need that interpretation to figure out what it was. The fortune teller says that the interpretation of the dream was difficult because the simple things in life are the most extraordinary. It takes wisdom to realize and understand simplicity. Well, that's true in some aspects. Sometimes we're looking more into it than it is. Santiago asks her how he should get to Egypt, but she says she only interprets dreams, and that's not my part. And doesn't deal in making them a reality. So he says, but what if I never get to Egypt? And the woman says, well, then I won't get paid. Oh, well, nothing gained, nothing lost. Again, he has met with the message to trust his own interpretations, right? And as this goes on, we start to figure out, really, this is about, is Santiago going to listen to the universe? Is he going to start recognizing the signs, right? In the next part, so I don't want to go too much. We're already at 43 minutes. All right, let's go a little quicker. The next part, he gets to the flock get sheared, or a couple of them get sheared. He gets a little money and he keeps on going. He meets Melchizedek, the king. Melchizedek tells him even more stuff, right? Better late than never. Hi, Kay. Don't overthink it. Exactly. Sometimes keep it simple, stupid, right? So the old man asks for a sip of his wine. I think it gave him enough hope to get him on the path, right? So at least he's like, all right, so at least I was right about that. And he wants to read a passage in his book. He's kind of annoying Santiago. But then the old man says, this book says the same thing as almost all other books in the world. It says that people are unable to choose their personal legends and that everyone believes the world's greatest lie. Santiago thinks, what's the world's greatest lie? Huh? I love this. The world's greatest lie. God, if we could, I wish I had a blackboard. I would write this on. There's several key quotes in this book. This is one of them. The world's greatest lie is that we do not control what happens to us. That's not exactly the quote. I wish I had the quote here. Wonder if I can find it quickly because it's so good. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I'll try not to take too much time. And if it is taking time, then forget it. Here we go. What is the world's greatest lie? At a certain point, we lose control of what happens to us. Right, here we go. Yes, it is this, that at a certain point in our lives, we lose control of what's happening to us, and our lives become controlled by fate. Our lives become controlled by fate. So at a certain point in our lives, whatever point that is, we forget that, you know what, if we don't like something, change it. We have control over that. That's a huge deal, and it's a huge lesson. And why is that a lesson? Because many times it's not easy to change something. If you're stuck in a job that you hate, we think, well, yeah, but we can't let go of it because I have to, I have responsibilities and I have this and I have that. If we were really unhappy, though, there's no reason why we can't control that. Change it. We get controlled by fear. And fear makes it so that we don't step out. We don't trust ourselves, and we don't step out and take a chance. We decide that it's too risky, that I'm too old now, I don't want to change professions, that I'm not smart enough, that I'm kind of know where I'm at. It's easier to stay put. We start to believe the lies that society and the universe begins to tell us. If people said yes to themselves more others, then we would be happier. Fear keeps us stuck in the mud. It does. And it makes us think we don't actually have control over that. And we do. We do have control. We can step out away from our comfort zone. If it is our truth to step out away from our comfort zone, we should be doing that. It's not easy. Not saying, well, come on, what's the matter with you? I'm there with you. I'm there too. I've been hanging on to this job. I don't hate my job. But this tarot reading and spiritual teaching and healing, and this is my calling. I know this is my calling. But I'm not stepping into it full time yet because of health insurance. And my fear is I'm going to lose my health insurance. And I can't do that. We are creators of our own life, and we forget that. Yes, we do. We need to remember that more often. Santiago is the author of his own story. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. He is. And he needs to remember that. Okay, so the old man says being a shepherd is, a much better fit for him instead of the priesthood. But the old man says he was born in Salem, which I always think that's hilarious. Of course, he's not talking about Salem, Massachusetts, but still he's talking about Salem. And he's the king of Salem. Instead of taking control, we let life happen to us instead of making life work for us. Exactly. And then we complain because we're not happy about it. And we're like, I don't know why I'm not happy. Well, that's because we didn't take control of it. We let life do things. So then the old man says, I'm Melchizedek. I'm the king of Salem. And he asks him about his sheep. Eventually he tells him, he picks up a stick, he writes in the sand. Something bright is kind of shining underneath his cloak. And Santiago is momentarily blinded by it. And he writes in the sand the names of Santiago's father and mother and the name of the seminary that Santiago attended. And he reads the name of the merchant's daughter, which he hadn't known before. So this guy has some information. This guy is somehow connected to the universe in a way that Santiago hasn't seen before. That's why I came out of the broom closet to my family who are super Bible thumpers. But got to be me. Good for you, Lee. Good for you. That's not an easy thing. So I'm proud of you. That is not an easy thing at all. I was agoraphobic for a few years, and it reminds me of all the things I would have missed out on had I not taken the first steps out of the door. Change can be terrifying, but glorious too. Good for you. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of all of you. Anytime that we step out of our comfort zone and take a step forward in our truth, it is an amazing thing. And don't take it lightly. It is amazing if we can trust our guts sometimes and step into our truth. Bravery upon bravery. It is an amazing thing. I'm very proud of you. Please look at story cards by Raymond Clark. Will do. Will do. Okay, so here this king has information that Santiago himself didn't even know. So it's not a mind reading thing because he has the name of the merchant's daughter, which he didn't even know before this. So he has some connection to the universe so now Santiago trusts him a little bit more than he did the fortune teller. He's like, wait a second, this guy actually knows something. He's able to see things that he wouldn't have known before. He definitely has some insight that I may need to listen to here. Right? So think in our own lives, if someone had come to us and we nonchalantly were chatting and saying, well, I have this dream and I don't know though. And they suddenly went, well, I happen to have a connection from the universe. Your parents' names are this and this. This is where you went to school. And the person that you've been trying to find, her name would be Bonnie. You'd be so good at explaining thief cards. I'll try it, Bonnie, I promise. If someone were come to us to say that, we might go, oh, wait a second. Okay, maybe the universe is really trying to tell me something, and the universe is sending me proof that I might need to listen to this person. They know things that there's no way they should know. Right. Yay. I'll try that, Bonnie, I promise. So definitely now we're thinking, okay, Santiago is going to listen to this king. When I had employer-based health insurance, I lost it as soon as I got too sick at work. End of that illusion, right? I know, and I worry. I hang on to that pretty tightly partially because of my ADD. I hate to say that, but for a person with ADD, it's very hard to think about living life without the meds because I've been on them since my son Dustin was born, who is going to be 20 in May. So you're talking 20 years that I've been on some kind of ADD meds, that I would never be able to afford these meds without health insurance. And that's scary. It's definitely scary. It's funny that my doctor doesn't want me off those meds, though. I've said to him before, a couple years ago, I've been on these meds a long time. Don't you think I should start to wean myself off of these meds and think about living my life without them? And he goes, no, why? Why would you do that? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I feel funny that I know I'm addicted to this stuff. And Bonnie, are you in our Facebook group, Bonnie? Because if so, my address is in our Facebook group. If not, email me if you want, and I can send you my address. My email is Jen Storelli, JenStorelli @gmail. My fiance had ADD. He was on meds as a teen. He's so happy to be off them. I know, and I have really think a lot about your relationship to that. Well, like I said, Truth, I have thought a lot about that, and it bothers me that I know I'm addicted to those meds. But as a person right now, anyways, who has a job, those meds, if I were to go off those meds right now, it would take me 2 weeks probably where I wouldn't be able to work because it would put me in bed for a couple weeks because the withdrawals and stuff, it would be bad. And I would love to be able to do that, but I can't take 2 weeks off of work. That's not going to happen right now. But it's funny to me that if I... title is, okay, I'll look it up, I promise. It's funny to me, though, that my doctor is completely like, no, why would you go off those meds? You need those meds to do your daily stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, I know that, but you don't think I can live without them at this point after 18, 20 years? I think my son has ADHD. I'm working on dietary changes. Yes. Now, I will say I'm not a person that is opposed to those meds, though, guys. I don't want to make it seem like I think no one should be on those meds. I'm not that person. If you think that, good for you. If it works for you, it works. For me, those meds make it so. I mean, you guys know me. I'm squirrely as it is. Those meds make it so that I am able to function in an adult society as well as that I do. And without them, I'm much more squirrely. I'm not saying that that would be a horrible thing, but I would not be able to function in the capacity that I do right now. So just to put it out there, I don't want to make it seem like I'm a person that's totally anti-med. I'm not. And it's okay if you are. That's all right. I'm just saying I'm not. Okay, but that's not what this is about. Back to it. So Melchizedek, he finally does tell him, though, what to do, right? He says you have a personal legend, that it's important that you follow it. And he says that he has to go across the desert, right? Where's my notes? The soul of the world is nourished by happiness. Our only real obligation is to realize our destiny. When you want something, and here's the second quote. I would say this is the second quote of the book that is highly, as a matter of fact, this one I use more than a whole lot of other quotes. I use this constantly. When you want something, the universe helps you to achieve it, wants to help you to achieve it. The universe comes to our aid. When we want something, the universe wants to help us achieve it, for sure. So he tells him, you have to go across the desert. Give me, what does he ask for? 2 sheep, 3 sheep, something like that. Miner today. He talks about a miner, the miner with the emerald. He tells that story, which is a great story. Boy, I wrote way too many notes. I could have wrote the whole book. 6. Yes, there you go. 6 sheep. The next day, 1/3 of his flock. That's right. That's right. He brings him 6 sheep. He tells Melchizedek that he has already sold his other sheep to his friend, and that his friend has always dreamed of being a shepherd. So now he let someone else realize their personal legend, and he has, given Melchizedek these 6 sheep. Melchizedek says that this is the principle of favorability. In other words, it's an example of beginner's luck. There's a force that wants Santiago to realize his personal legend. And so it encourages him early on with the taste of success. And so Santiago says, okay, where's the treasure? And he says, it's in Egypt near the pyramids. And Santiago knows that. So Melchizedek finally tells him that to find the treasure, he will have to follow the omens. He gives him 2 stones, right, from his breastplate. Exchange of energy, yes. And he gives him a black stone and a white stone. They're called Urim and Thummim. The black stone signifies yes, and the white stone signifies no. And he tells him, when you come across a decision that you need to rely on the universe's help, pull one of these, ask the stones a question, pull one of these stones, and the stones will help you to read the omens. And Santiago makes a point of saying, all right, I will do that when I need that help, but I'm also going to rely on my own. I want to be able to do this myself, which is a good thing. He's not just going to say, okay, should I walk forward a step? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Should I walk forward another step? Yes. He's going to, make a lot of his own decisions. He's just going to use those stones to help him out when he gets to a big omen kind of decision. I'm going snow machining. All right, honey, no problem. I'm almost done. And then we're going to start this week. We're going to start part 2. So, he talks about, what else? Oh, Melchizedek tells him the story of the boy with the oil. Right? And so the point of that is you have to do both. You have to be careful with your decision making, but you also have to make your own decisions and stop and look around so that you can read the signs, right? The point of the boy with the oil and the spoon, bipolar sense 9. And what I meant to say was I would go off and on my med throughout my adult years, mental breakdown, etc. I finally realized that these meds were for life. I hear you. And I've kind of realized that too. I do try to take breaks, like if I'm on vacation or something, I try to not take them one day on the weekend. Although if I do that, that's a tough day because I want to sleep a lot. So Santiago doesn't say anything, living consciously. Yes. In response to the stories, he understands the message. Even though he may travel, he should never forget about his sheep either. So Santiago takes the money and he gets a ship to Morocco. He arrives in Morocco. He goes to a bar in Tangier and he meets someone who speaks English. The person who speaks English says, "Hey, come on with me. I'll show you around," right? Says that he tells him I have to go to the pyramids, and he's like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I'll be your guide." Yeah. And there's the bar owner is frantically trying to tell him something in Arabic, but since Santiago doesn't speak Arabic, he doesn't know what he's trying to say, and he's kind of put off by it, and he's like, "Okay, dude, leave me alone. I got my guide. I'm good. I got this." So Santiago shows the kid the money. Never do that, right? They always tell you that anyway. When you're traveling, don't take your money out. Show everybody how much money you got. Poor Santiago is a boy, but not too bright sometimes. And again, the guide is young, right? So he kind of trusts him because he's a younger guy. So he trusts his friend. Thanks, best teacher on the block, right? So they go to the market. And at first, Santiago is really paying attention to his guide. And he's not letting his eyes off because he's not totally... First of all, he gives him his money, which I'm like, Santiago, come on. As soon as he does that, you know what's going to happen. You're like, don't give him the money. Come on. What? Sir, you don't know where this kid is from. Nothing. But he gives him his money. He tries to keep an eye on him. And what happens? He gets distracted. He gets distracted by this beautiful sword, I think, right? Yes, the most beautiful sword he's ever seen. He's distracted for a minute, looking at the sword, and he looks around. And oh my goodness, surprise, surprise, the guide is gone. Shocker! The guide took your money and took off. Oh, so shocked. And then suddenly the day is over. Santiago judges people by appearances. Absolutely. Suddenly the day is over and the marketplace clears out because everybody went home. But he does have a feeling that he should keep an eye on him, right? And he tries, but he gets distracted by the shiny, gorgeous sword. So then the marketplace is completely emptied. Nobody there. And he feels sorry for himself. He kind of goes through this, oh, woe is me depression phase. It's warranted. You lost everything. Here you sold your sheep. You were dumb enough to give this kid your money. So it's a lesson. And again, how do we learn our lessons? Many times we learn our lessons through pain, through uncomfortability, through stuff that doesn't feel very good. But we learn our lessons, and he does. He learns his lesson. He realizes that the guy speaking Arabic was probably trying to say to him, hey, this is a thief. Don't trust him the hard way, right? Don't trust this kid. But he doesn't speak Arabic, and he didn't know. So he feels sorry for himself. Book is loaded with morals. It sure is, isn't it? And around every corner is another lesson. He feels sorry for himself. He sleeps. He went from being a successful shepherd to stranded with no money in a country where he doesn't speak the language. Oh, that really sucks. He's pretty damn low at this point. So the next day, he's like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. Gotta figure it out somehow. He decides to experiment with the stones. He asks if the old man's blessing is still with him. He takes the stone out of the pouch. Black stone means yes. He asks if he's going to find his treasure. Well, that's a pretty big question. And there's a lot of ifs and what ifs and buts and if this, then that. So what happens? Both the stones fall through his pouch and fall on the ground. Because the universe is like, oh no, you're not tricking me with that one. thanks so much, but I'm not playing that game. I am not going to be able to tell you if you're going to reach your destiny, because there's too many different paths off of that destiny that you could choose. So again, here's another lesson. Sometimes people come to us for tarot readings about this big, huge life lesson thing. Should I leave everything I know and go to college across the country? And if I do that, will I succeed? That's a loaded question. It depends on a million things in between here and there. Will you succeed? Sure, there's a path to success, but there's a million other things that could happen. You can't just ask the universe that. Depends. What are you planning on doing in between? Right? He was definitely trying to cheat. Just tell me, then I'll know. If I'm not going to get there anyway, I just won't bother. I'll just go home again. Well, that would be easy if we could do that. Right. Depends on the choices we make. It's our will. It's our stuff. It's the choices that we make in the past that we turn on that decide the end point. So he realizes that was the wrong question. Free will versus what is meant to be, right? Absolutely. Like I can tell you, I know that I was born to teach spiritual stuff. I know that. I feel that in my heart. I totally know that. However, I'm not guaranteed success at that. A lot of it depends on where I've gone in my life before that and the choices that I use to get there now. It's not guaranteed success. I might be born to do that. That doesn't mean it'll always work out. I always help them to restructure the question. Me too. Or you get to them and you're like, okay, well, that's a huge question. Be a little bit more specific. Let's break it down. Let's say if you move across the country, will you find a job? Or if you move across the country, will you get into the program you want to get into? Start with a smaller goal because there's too many paths to get there to that one. Okay, so he puts the stones back in and now he's learned a lesson. Okay, I can't really ask him that. Starts walking around the marketplace. Baby steps, yes. He starts walking around the marketplace. He stops at a candy seller, helps the candy seller assemble his stall, who gives him, a couple pieces of candy. So at least now he has something in his belly. That's good. He then finds the crystal seller. The crystal seller hasn't sold a lot of crystal lately. He's at the top of a hill, kind of off the main drag. And he's thinking, I haven't sold stuff. Used to be people came down through here all the time, but now they don't really come by anymore. So he hasn't, really shined up his crystal. So then Santiago comes by and says, hey, I'll clean everything in your window for you if you give me something to eat. So he cleans everything in his window so well. Oh, I'm starting to see shit fly by in my yard. The wind's starting to pick up. That 3 people come in and he makes 3 sales that he wouldn't have made without Santiago cleaning up. So he thinks, maybe I can give this kid a job and see. So he, the crystal merchant gives Santiago an offer. If you clean my crystal for an entire year, and I will give you a commission on every piece. He laughs at him, though, because Santiago says, I need enough to get to the Egyptian pyramids. And he's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. If you do it for an entire year and you made a good commission, you still wouldn't have enough. So of course, Santiago is now upset. He's like, damn, I kind of I underestimated what I was going to need to do. So he says, I'll give you enough to get back to your own country. And Santiago says, okay, I'll work for you. I'm going to need some money to get some sheep. And that's the end of part 1. We have so much more to get to. But so the end of part 1 is really his defeat. He kind of feels defeated. He's like, I can't believe I was so stupid to think I can do this. And we all, when we are following our own personal legend, when we feel like we have found the thing that will make us happy, we all have pitfalls. It's going to happen where something gets in our way and we're like, damn, I don't see a right way around this. Apparently I was wrong. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. That's not the time to give up, first of all. That's the time to say, okay, is this really what I wanted? And if it's really what I wanted, understand a couple things. One is the universe conspires to help us. If this really is what we want, the universe wants to help us. It's laying in wait. As long as you don't see a cow fly by, right? But the universe is laying in wait, just waiting to help us. It wants us to succeed. And that's a pretty cool concept in itself. If you take a step back and think, you know what? The universe actually has a stake in me. It wants me to succeed. It cares enough about me that it wants to see me happy. It wants to see the goals that I set for myself be achieved. That's pretty mind-blowing all in itself. That the universe gives a shit about you and wants to help you succeed. If you don't learn anything else but that from this book, that's a lot. There's a lot of other lessons that will come across in this book. But let's just start with that. The universe wants us to succeed and it will help us. The shop owner seems he gave up in a way until Santiago came into his shop. That's right. And then what does he do? Instead of encouraging Santiago, he says, oh, you'll never make that much. Forget it. You'll never get to the Egyptian pyramids. There's always going to be somebody in our way saying, just give up. You'll never make it there. Reminds me of the Celestine prophecy. Follow the signs from the universe. Go with the flow. See where it takes you. It might be better than you can imagine. Absolutely. And don't forget that Santiago's dream has already changed. Santiago thought his dream was to be a shepherd and to travel and to meet this girl and get married. And he never would have met the people he made. Santiago will give him hope. Then he might change his way, how he sees the world. And Santiago never would have changed his dream. He would have sat in seminary school if Santiago hadn't stepped out and said, you know what? I believe I'm supposed to do this. Santiago would have stepped out or would have sat in seminary school and said, my dream all my life was to be a shepherd and I just never could do it. Too bad. And all his life, he's going to sit in seminary school and be a priest and say, I just can't see how anything in my life was ever good because I always dreamed of this one thing. What he doesn't know is that dream, he stepped out, he stepped into his truth, and that dream led him to a bigger dream. He never would have imagined he could go across the sea to Morocco, but here he is in Morocco. So it's not necessarily the destination that we're looking at. Now, we'll learn a lot more about that in part 2, but it's not the destination all the time. Sometimes it's just that we have the courage and faith and fortitude and strength and hell yes, I'm that person to step forward into our truth, and suddenly we are on our path. Right now, I feel like my personal legend is to teach people spirituality stuff. As long as I am continuing to go on that path, I'm happy about where I am because I'm on that path. And so because I'm moving forward in some way, I know that I'm on the right path. Will I ever get there? I don't know. I might get halfway there and something steps in front of me that says, oh yeah, you thought so. But now because you were able to step forward into what your truth was at the moment, you met this person and this person and this person and this person, and now it's an even bigger dream that you never would have thought of could happen. So part of what this book is going to teach us is it's about the journey. The journey itself is what we have to enjoy. We have to live life for every moment, and every moment of the journey should be an exciting piece of life. And don't stop and wait for anything, because life is not going to wait for you. Do not stay someplace where you're not enjoying what you're doing for a second. We don't have time. When we're human, we don't have time to do that. Life is too short to not enjoy where you're at right now. It's too short. We can't do it. Don't waste a moment. It's about the journey for sure. And we'll learn that so much more in part 2. As long as you, where am I? Sorry, guys. Hold on. I'm catching up. Celestine Prophecy. Yes, that's a great book too. Santiago will give him hope. Then he might change the way how he sees his world. Yes. I know many people that have done that. What they thought their parents or society wanted them to do. Oh, me too. Sometimes what we see as a leap of faith is a baby step on our journey. Oh, for sure. It's the journey to getting to where you want to go. Many think of the outcome and not the process, for sure. I always tell people it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. I'm 55 years old and I learned anything about the universe, it is to keep moving. Don't give up. It's only a test, and it's up to us to try hard to pass it, for sure, Lee. Damn, I just started listening. This message is powerful. My aunt, who was like a mother to me, just passed on Friday. I'm so sorry, Naya. And all I could think about is the last conversation we had where she was urging me to. Oh, do what makes you happy right now. Right now. I'm so sorry for your loss, Naya. Do what makes me happy now. I feel like she's trying to talk to me. She is. Believe it. The universe is conspiring to help us at every moment. Boy, you got that right. Life is short, so be in the moment and realize that you grow best by being in the moment. Oh, awesome, for sure. That's right. So, yay. We made it through part 1. We've learned a lot. There's so much more to learn. I will try to, I may not get to, what time is it? 3:30. I may not get to record the first part of part 2 tonight, but I will try. It depends on how, busy stuff goes when I get off. Oh, that's okay, Silver Willow. I understand. Just do what you got to do to heal, honey. This will be up here and you can catch up for sure. I will be back on set at 7:30. We have some other topics to discuss, and I will be back on answering questions. I'm not doing readings, but I will try to answer anything witchy that you want to know. Anything tarot related, anything witchy related. And I have a couple kind of announcement kind of things too. So I'll be back on at 7:30. Yay! You're so welcome, you guys. I love you.